first came across Bruckner in a youth orchestra when I was 10 years old. I remember two things very clearly. One, adoring this music, just being absolutely bowled over by the sound.
This was such new music, unlike any other kind of music. Bruckner never sounds like anybody else. It always sounds only like Bruckner.
Bruckner, for me, is a composer which not looked at the past, but opened the possibilities for not only the orchestra writing, but also the perspective of a new music. A music which is much more open on the space, the resonances that we can have also in the cosmos, in the everything.
Nearly all his music exists in many different versions, and we have so many revisions.
His friends didn't understand some of it, and they suggested changes.
Maybe he just was quite unsure of what he had written down and had another idea 2 years later and wanted to change it.
He was this mixture of confidence and I'm not sure, especially since people didn't want to play the pieces. I mean, he didn't have a big success until the 7th in Leipzig.
What is about those first versions? They have some things which are absolutely modern in the sense avant-garde, looking into the future. And if Bruckner was himself a conductor with the personality of, say, of Wagner or of Mahler, he would impose this. But he was in his character different, and people took advantage of that.
A lot of the brilliant originality in the symphonies is in the first versions.
The music director of the radio asked me if he can come with the representative of Berenreiter Kassel. And they gave me in my hand the 4th symphony, the first version. And I looked and I said, what am I seeing here in this symphony? I thought I'm looking at Stravinsky, or, there were so many bold, avant-garde things that never were written before in the time of Bruckner. And that's opened my view on the interpretation of Bruckner.
Ik zit iedere dag met alle 2 partituren. Ja. Die ene heb ik volledig in mijn hoofd. En dan, hoi, wat is dat? Dat is toch anders? Dat hoor ik anders. Dan kijk ik weer naar de tweede versie. Heel leuk, heel nieuw. Het is bijna het studeren van een nieuwe symfonie.
We're actually dealing here with, in some cases, completely different movements that effectively created completely different symphonies.
De eerste versie is bijna een triomf. Ja. En ik zit iedere dag om na te denken... Wat is dat de bedoeling? Wat wil hij hier?
A number of the players came up to me most concerned about playing this version and saying that they had the feeling they were driving at high speed down a motorway that they knew very well, and all of a sudden there was a sharp curve or a brick wall across the road that wasn't there yesterday.
The horns in that's not there at all. It's a completely different scherzo. It's rather manic and sort of slightly terrifying scherzo actually. That is different music. So it's new music. No one knows this music.
One particular section in is it the first or last movement where the violins have to play just after the beat all the time? It's almost impossible to play. I see why that was changed, and they certainly found it very difficult. It is very, very, very difficult, but it's exciting.
It has in some ways a naivety to it that perhaps tempers the religious grandeur of the movement and makes it somehow more human.
The danger for a conductor, and it was certainly the past generations, is to be so galvanized by the beauty that they can stretch everything or they can feel they are the master of the universe on the podium simply because it sounds so gorgeous. So the tempo doesn't exist anymore. The form or the shape of the symphony is. This is the problem with music which sounds so gorgeously.
There's also quite a lot of humour in his music. I always try to bring out the human part of Bruckner, because there's plenty of grand stuff and sort of religious stuff, you know, but people forget that Bruckner was, although he played the organ on Sundays as a young man, on Saturdays he would be playing the violin in pubs.
This whole idea of youthful energy married to some structural imperfection became a little bit of an intellectual puzzle for me. How do I make this work? Because what overrode everything was the emotional power of these early symphonies, and that they had such a strong and vibrant message.